The third type of API that we're going to be looking at is one that allows you to actually log in to a web system and then do things within that. And we're going to be doing that with the Twitter API, which allows you to do pretty much anything you can do on Twitter. So we can read people's tweets, we can tweet out, we can send direct messages, we can do all sorts of things. So this is a level above the Google Maps API in terms of interactivity. We're not just pulling information here, we're actually making things happen as well. As you might imagine, it's therefore a little bit more complicated, but don't worry, I'll guide you through it step by step. So first off, we need to create a Twitter developer account if you don't already have one. So go to dev.twitter.com and then click sign in. Now, if you have a Twitter account, you can sign in there, but I'm just going to show you the process from scratch so you can see the whole thing. So I'll start off with my name and then rob@codestars.com, and then I'll type a password. All right, I'll skip the phone validation for now, and then I'll use one of these slightly horrendous looking suggestions. And I'll just save that on LastPass in case I need to come back to it later. All right, so because I've created an account, it's taken me back to Twitter. So I'm now going to go back to dev.twitter.com. So this is where you'll be if you already have a Twitter account. And now we're going to go to developers and documentation. So as always, you can spend a bit of time reading this if you want to get more information on how you can use the Twitter API. As you can see, there's a number of different ways you can do it. The way we're going to be working with is OAuth. So this essentially allows you to authorize yourself as a Twitter user within your app, and that will allow you to view tweets, send tweets, and do pretty much anything else within the Twitter ecosystem. And the first thing you need to do to access the Twitter API via OAuth is create an app. And we do that at apps.twitter.com. So if you're logged in, then it will take you to the Twitter apps page where you probably won't have any apps. So we'll create a new one. And we're not actually making an app here, but we're essentially setting up credentials for us to be able to log in to the Twitter API. So we'll just fill in these details. So I'll just call it my Twitter API app. This is a demo app for the Twitter API. I'll just put a placeholder here. Twitter app demo.com. I don't know if there's a website there. And we'll leave the callback URL blank. We're not going to be using that. Then we'll agree to the terms and conditions and create our Twitter application. And one thing, I do need to add my mobile phone number to Twitter. And we do that on the main Twitter website. So I'm just going to go to twitter.com. And then under my little symbol there, I'll click settings. And then mobile. And I'll just pause the recording while I enter my mobile number. And now that's done, let's go back over to create an application and attempt it again. Oh, we're getting very close. Just need to put in, I'll just put a random number at the end of that. And then we'll try again, and we've got it. All right. And the main thing we're interested in here are our keys. So if we click Manage Keys and Access Tokens, you can see we've got a consumer key and a consumer secret. And these are your two API keys. And this one you can make public if you want, but the secret you should very much keep private, because anyone who has access to that will be able to access everything that you can do within your app. So our last thing to do here in the Twitter website is to create an access token, which will allow us to access the Twitter API through this app. And there we go. So once again, we've got a token and a secret. And the reason you have an access token as well as an API key is because you might want to access the Twitter API from a number of different places, from your website, from your app, or from somewhere else. And you might therefore want to have a different access token for each of those setups. Okay, so now we've set up everything that we need for our Twitter app. We now need to write the code to connect to it. Now, fortunately, there's a great PHP library that we can use to do the hard work of connecting to the API. And we can find that by searching for something like Twitter OAuth PHP. And this will take you to the Twitter OAuth page on GitHub. As always, you can read more about that at the homepage twitteroauth.com, but we're just going to download it and make a start with it. There are basic instructions there. In case you have any problems with this particular version, I've also saved a version on the website for this course, and there's a link to that in the next lecture, so you can use that version if you prefer. But for now, we'll just download zip, and I'll save it on the desktop, and then we'll unzip it, and we'll have a quick look inside. So there we go. You can see we've got a bunch of PHP files, which we will of course need to upload to our server. So back over to FireFTP, and I'm just going to click on the Twitter OAuth master folder, and then click the arrow to upload everything within that. Wonderful. So let's have a look then at twitteroauth.com and see how we set this up. We're not using Composer here, so we'll scroll down to the old-fashioned way, which is just downloading and uploading to our server. And then you can see we've got here our 2 lines of code that we'll need. It's pretty simple. So we just require, which is essentially the same as including. And I'm going to get rid of everything here. So we'll require that, but bear in mind this link is slightly different here, so I'm just going to rename that. So right click and rename, so it's just Twitter OAuth, and then that should match that, and then we'll just use that bit of code, and then it's these 2 lines of code that we're going to need. So I'll paste those in, and we're going to need to replace these with our various access tokens. So let's get all of those set up. What I'd normally do is set those at the beginning of our code so we don't have them kind of deeply embedded. So we'll start off with the consumer key. So that's equal to that. Then we've got consumer secret, which is equal to this long thing. Then we've got our access token, which is this. And our access token secret, which is that. And be careful not to copy. I've got a little space at the end of mine there. That's not part of it. So then I'll just replace these with my variable names. So consumer key, consumer secret, access token, and access token secret. And there we go. So the only change I'm going to make here is just to print content there to see what is returned by the Twitter API when we attempt to verify the credentials. And if you'll notice, I've actually got a couple of other bit of blank space there. So it's very easy to get those when you're copying and pasting the access codes. So make sure you've got rid of any spaces and line breaks, and then we'll open this up in a new tab and we'll just jump over to the same page as before. Keep your fingers crossed, and there we go. So if you've done everything right, we'll just view the source. You should get something that looks like this. So you get the name, screen name, and a bunch of other information about that particular user. Wonderful. So all looking good so far. Let's see if we can get the tweets of this person. So first off, I'm going to jump to Twitter and make a quick tweet so that we've got something on our timeline. This is my first tweet. Inspirational stuff. Okay. So now if we go back to twitteroauth.com, we can then scroll down and we can see how it actually works. So once we've done the OAuth, it actually works in quite a similar way to the Google Maps API. Essentially, we've got a URL that we need to access to do something. Because we're accessing this through OAuth though, we don't just use file get contents, we use this method here. So connection and then get. So let's try that out. So instead of printing content, we'll print statuses. And you've got a fairly obvious couple of variables there. That count is currently equal to 25 and exclude replies is true. So let's have a look. There we go. This is looking good. Again, we'll view source to make it a bit clearer. And then you can see we've got this is my first tweet there. And we've got a bunch of other information about the tweet as well, like where it came from, the user, and the date and time as well. Excellent. So we're looking good. The last thing I want to show you is how to post to the Twitter API, and specifically how to send a tweet. So let's go back to twitteroauth.com. And here we go. So it's as simple as this. We just post instead of get, and we're posting to statuses/update, and then we're adding our new status, which is essentially our new tweet. So let's do that just before we get the tweets, and then we should be able to see it. And all right, this came from my Twitter app. Wonderful. All right, let's take a look. So we'll refresh that. Looking promising. And okay, so great. This came from my Twitter app. Definitely seems to have been returned. Let's have a look on Twitter itself. And with any luck, it should be there. Wonderful. So in just a few minutes, we've set up a new app that we can use to connect to Twitter, and we can view the user's timeline and send tweets as well. And in the next video, we're going to put this together to make a small but very functional Twitter client.